Hi Leighton, great to meet up with you again on the range the other day and do a little bit of work on your game. First of all, if we look at you from face on, what we're seeing now in the backswing is a much more centred turn than we had previously. Still lacks a little bit of wrist hinge on the way back, which we'll come to later. As we're coming through impact, there's a much better tucking and driving forward of the hips, but there's still that sort of lifting up move. So if we look at you from about this position in your swing now, you're starting to lift and the shaft is leaning back as you're coming into impact. So you're lifting from about P5 onwards. And largely the reason for that is because the swing radius is getting a little bit too wide, too early. And if you didn't stand up, you'd stick the club in the ground behind the ball. We take a little look at you from down the line. What we're seeing is a player whose club rolls behind him a little bit too much during the takeaway. So club rolls. So the left forearm is rotating, but the wrists are not cocking early enough to counteract that and offset that and keep the club more in line with the hands. As a result, the top of the backswing looks a little bit short and also gives the impression that the club face is shut, albeit there's no problem with the grip. So what we've done here is took the time to first of all shorten the backswing on the way back. So you're going to take your arms back a little bit shorter. As a result, you can see there that you get the shaft into almost the same position going back, but more importantly you're hinging your wrists a little bit sooner. So we just take you back there now, so that the left arm's parallel with the ground, P3. We've got the shaft in this position, and if you look at your original footage, and we'll take you back down to P3, we've got the shaft over here. So there's definitely more loading of the shaft during the backswing. When the shaft loads more during the backswing, then what we should see is we should start to see a club that rolls behind us less during the takeaway. So even though that's rolling behind us more than we would want, it's rolling behind us less than it was previously. So there's a little bit more wrist hinge going back. As a result, the club face doesn't look quite as shut, and the top of the backswing is just a touch longer than it was at the start of your session. From this position at the top, what we're going to try and do now is increase the load on those wrists into the early part of the downswing. So your wrists are continuously loading from P1, loading, 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 all the way to P5. So the wrist should hinge more from the top of your backswing to the early part of your downswing. That in turn means that, and we just put this line on your head again, that previously from that position you started to lift very, very early. Now we're staying down just a touch longer before we start to lift. And as we're coming into impact, I'm just going to bring you back down there. Stop you at that point. Shaft parallel with the floor. Shaft parallel with the floor. If we look at the hand position, we're getting those hands in more towards the position we'd want. So ultimately we want this left arm in line with the right thigh. That in turn means that there's more load on the wrists, which in turn will mean there's more shaft lean and compression coming into impact. You definitely struck the ball better towards the end of your session. You can see there that things are starting to change and starting to take shape. You've got the drills in which you can hit balls, swinging back to P3, getting the wrist to cock very early, full set of the wrists at P3 chest height, and try and hit the ball as far as we can from that position. And then the other exercise is to actually hit shots as we did earlier, missing the ball, hitting the ground out in front of the golf ball is a really good exercise to just help you increase the amount of load we get on the second accumulator from the top of the backswing to P5. So P4 to P5, we need to load the shaft more, and then in the takeaway, P1 to P3, we need to load the shaft more as well. So continuously loading the wrists from the start of the swing to just short of chest height. And I'm just going to get some footage up here of Grant White doing it beautifully with driver, just so that you can have a visual on it when you're watching this recap. Let me just play this through for you a few times. You can see that from setup, the wrists are going to continuously load, incrementally cocking, full set by the time we get to P3, loading still loading, loading further P3, P4, down to P5, and now we'll start to gradually release. And if we stop him at P6, we see that left arm in line with the right thigh, third side of the triangle starting to straighten, but more importantly, wrist hinge has been maintained. That means now that as he comes through, keeps everything in motion, more shaft lean and also more spine tilt. Power and trajectory both improve with that sort of move. So again, I'll just play that through for you, full speed. Continuously loading the wrist from the start of the backswing down to chest height in the downswing, then gradually releasing the club or releasing the angles as we come through. So the wrists load, 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 start to release. Good luck with it, and I look forward to working with you again in the coming months. Well done.